I'm not a huge apartment guy. I know with apartments, the cash flow is phenomenal. It just wasn't for me. I personally buy nice single-family houses in nice areas, and that's what I started doing. And I bought some commercial property when I sold those apartments.
You're listening to 5 Hour Real Estate Week, where you'll learn to consistently buy real estate in only 5 hours a week. So if you're ready to invest in real estate, achieve financial freedom, and own the lifestyle you deserve, even with your job, this is the show for you. Now, here's your host, Mike Butler.
Hello, fellow investors, and welcome to today's episode of the 5 Hour Real Estate Week podcast. And today I've got a very special guest just for you. His name's Mark Haas. And Mark is one of my superstar investors who has achieved true financial independence in lightning speed. And he attributes his phenomenal success to yours truly, a good portion of that. And he's also going to give us some insight on where our current real estate market is heading, because he's got all of that expertise between his ears with a position that he's had. Golly, he still got it today, and he rock and rolled. So I'm going to do my darndest to keep this at 20 minutes or so, because your time is so precious and valuable. Now, please grab a good notebook with a couple of good ink pens to take notes as you get to learn from my good friend and superstar investor, Mark Haas. Now, before I introduce him here, if you don't have your ink pen and a notebook, hit the pause button. You can always come back and then play this, because you're going to learn a bunch from this guy. So hello and welcome, Mark Haas. What town are you in today?
Louisville, Kentucky. How you doing?
Yeah, is your phone ringing off the wall again?
Yeah.
So he's got Louisville, Kentucky. He's got Florida. He's got Barron River. He's all over the place. He's got Gatlinburg. And he's just super guy, awesome. And what I like about it is we all grew up in the same neighborhood, south end of Louisville, Kentucky. So that's kind of neat. Yep. So for starters, Mark, please tell our audience what your life is like today, your regular routine, day in and day out stuff.
Well, I just got back from Florida last night. I've been down there 3 weeks. Spent the month of September down there. Left the house about 9:30, went to my office, did a little work, and I got home about 2 o'clock.
So that's a regular day. I know that you and your bride, you're also into golf tournaments and golf leagues, and you got a place down at Barron River, built a new lake house, and had a place up in Gatlinburg and all that, right?
Yes.
So is life good today?
Yeah, it's pretty daggone good. I'm a very lucky man, very fortunate.
Yeah, real estate been very good to you.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do this. How far back do me and you go? What do you think?
Oh, boy, 40 years, over 20 years.
Be scared to think about it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I know this for a fact. It had to have been 1995, because that's when we bought your grandma's place. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So how many years might that be? I don't want to put a calculator.
Yeah, at least 1995.
Yeah, so that's
I bought my first house in 96, so it had to be right around there.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this, Mark. Who or what sparked your interest in real estate?
Well, when I first got my real estate license, I was with Steve Priest, was my broker. And then,
so what sparked that?
I didn't think I would ever.
What sparked that? Who lit your fuse on to get a real estate license, and why?
Well, I've worked in a paint factory, worked construction, and I had a pool company, and I didn't want to lay my guys off through the winter, so I bought a house. We rehabbed it, and I sold it, spent the whole winter rehabbing it, and we sold it, and I made about, a little over 30 grand off of it. And I thought, man, this is it. So,
so it wasn't no Carlton sheets.
So I went and got my real estate license.
TV shows or somebody saying, hey, you need to do this. You just stumbled across it.
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of. Okay, that's cool. So you had a pool company, and you would build in-ground pools, right?
That's correct.
So you had that going. That was very successful. And you just always wanted more for you and your family, I assume. The Mark Haas that I know.
Yeah.
So when
you worked 2 jobs.
You always worked 2 jobs. So what kind of job did you have when you got started in real estate?
I was pretty much working at the paint factory full time. I worked there 18 years, and I started doing real estate and stayed at the paint factory for about 4 to 5 years.
What paint factory was that? This is new to me too.
PPG, Olympic Stain.
And that Pittsburgh Paints, Porter Paints at the time?
Yes. Yeah,
wow.
Pittsburgh.
And so you did pools on the side?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's something I'm learning right there, guys. So you guys that the 5-hour real estate week, see how this is working into your schedule of things to do here too. So, okay, let me ask you this. Can you recall what your original goal was or what you wanted your real estate to do for you when you discovered it?
I think before I even got my license, I used to ask Steve Priest if I could make an extra $1,000 a month. He says, there's no guarantee, but you could make a lot more than that if you really worked hard. And
Steve Priest is a broker here in our town, very, very successful. And he's got his kids in the business. His dad was in the business. And so how did you and Steve Priest hook up?
I gave him a bid on an in-ground pool.
That's how you met him?
Yeah, and he said that I would make a really good realtor.
Oh, and he was right. He did. Okay. So what was your original goal, or what did you want your real estate to do for you?
Well, I was hoping to make $12,000 extra a year. And my first year selling real estate, with a lot of Steve's help, I sold 23 houses.
And so do the math on that one. So it was more than $1,000 a pop, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think memory served, probably a little over 40 grand that year.
When you were expecting $1,000 a month, maybe. And Steve didn't even promise you $1,000 a month. So,
no.
yeah. So that's pretty phenomenal. So what'd Mama say about that, your bride?
Well, she liked it, but I was working a lot. I was working 2 jobs. So, but it's pretty good money. And the next year, I sold 30 houses. So it just kept climbing.
Yeah, it just kept going up and up and up. Okay. So real estate, you wanted to make extra money with it. And when did the investing part surface or grab your interest?
Well, I remember telling me and my brother-in-law talking about friends of ours that own rental property. And we both were like, there's no way I'm ever going to own rental property. And I remember going to continuing ed at the Little Board of Realtors, and I was sitting with a guy, I can't think of his name right in this second, but he said something that stuck in my head. He said, you can make a lot of money selling real estate, but you don't get wealthy until you own it. And that burned in my head. And I had a listing, first house I ever bought, on Haskin Avenue, across from Iroquois High School. I listed it and I sold it, and it fell apart because of the condition of the house. And nobody was going to lend on it. So I told the guy that I would buy it cash and subtract $5,000 from what his original cost and subtract my commission. So I got it for like $35,000.
This was around 96, 95, 96?
Yeah, it was 96, I think it was.
Okay, yeah. And you were able, now keep in mind, guys, this was a lesson here. He was able to pay cash for it because he was working 2 jobs. One as a real estate agent with Steve Priest, and he's working at the paint store. And so when he was blowing the doors off with all these commissions, he was able to pay cash for this house, right?
Right.
Okay, keep going.
Another thing I did, I had a house on Paiute in the South End by Kenwood Elementary, and I put a new roof on it. I put windows in it. I painted it. I finished the basement. I put money, and improved that house a lot. And I got appraisal on it, and I couldn't believe what it appraised for and what I owed on it. And the people were like, you want a $40,000 equity line of credit? I said, sure.
Yep, that was good. So now you're identifying resources to have cash so you can do more cash deals. Okay. So you rock and rolled in there, and you're being kind of quiet. You must have some jet lag there, having worked your butt off these last 2 days. But I'd like for you to share with us some of your achievements, your highlights, and a great deal or story. And when I talk about achievements, one in particular, Mark, is you not only getting your broker's license, but how you were able to identify before the last financial tsunami of America, you saw where short sales were beginning to be popular and people were getting behind on payments. And you became, and I'm not even sure if I'm saying this right, a REO broker or real estate. Tell us about that and how that worked for you.
Yeah, I'm a member of pretty exclusive groups now because I started going out to California around 98, 99. And I started doing BPOs, broker price opinions, for household finance. That's a name from the past, isn't it?
Yeah.
And got to know an asset manager pretty good. And he told me to come out to California, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
And so you got the connections with asset managers, which are people who take care of bank-owned properties when they get them back and things like that, and probably HUD and VA and everything else, right, on a national level. And then weren't you the top dog in our state for that?
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a top dog. And so in order to be a top dog, can you give us any kind of rough numbers maybe for a year? How many you were cranking through and blowing through when that foreclosure?
We were selling anywhere from 200 to over 300 homes a year.
Gosh. And so you got commissions on that plus other fees. And then you belong to this special group on a national level. And I remember that it was October of 2020, not this past October of 2021, October 2020. We were meeting over Chris's house for the Ed Milton Award debate and discussion and select nominations. And you said that you just returned from one of these national conferences where you're a member of the asset managers on a national level. And you gave some just knock your socks off kind of numbers about how the foreclosures have stacked up, not only with the CDC foreclosure moratorium and me and you that have rental properties, everybody's heard of the CDC eviction moratorium, which is finally over. But at that time, this has been a little over a year ago. Can you share with us what the forecast was from your asset manager conference so folks can get an insight on the market where we're heading?
Yeah. So '08 was probably the beginning of the tsunami and the crash. And then it peaked in 2010. And at 2010's peak, we had just a hair over 8 million foreclosures. And then it started coming back down 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2016, 2017, there started to be a little bit of an uptick. 2019, there was a pretty good increase. And then we had 2020 and it just went skyrocketed then. So their numbers were that we knew of, there was over 28 million people that was behind on their mortgage payments.
As of October 2020?
Yes.
Which is just blows the doors off the previous financial tsunami or foreclosure tsunami, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, and then since then, COVID has happened and the foreclosure moratorium. So have you attended another conference where they've updated that?
Yeah, somewhat. Now they're talking about landlords, some of them that's maybe not as deep as pockets, and they own 2, 4, 10, and all of a sudden they're not getting their rent payments. So it makes it difficult for them to make their mortgage payment, and it's a snowball. I'm getting phone calls, not quite as bad as it was in '08, but I'm getting phone calls from investors that are in a little bit of trouble. Myself, I think May this year, I had 9 or 10 tenants that hadn't paid, and it was over $90,000 in unpaid rents just in May. So,
yep.
Yeah.
So even the veteran seasoned pro, if you don't stay on top of the market and where it's going and all that can really rock your world. So me and you both, if you go back to 2008, how many investors do we know that filed bankruptcy and just threw in the towel? And there was a bunch of those.
Yes, there was. I was telling somebody the other day about that. There was a time when I had, once a week, I was having a friend or a family or somebody coming in talking about foreclosure. They was hurting for money, and that number turned into twice a week, and it seemed like every day I was having somebody come in talking about losing everything.
Yeah, and you helped them out. So you moving around in your home there, I can see that. So some of your achievements was to be the state's #1 REO broker, right? And that brought you a ton of leads. And that was basically a generate chunks of cash kind of business, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then what are some of your other achievements, highlights, or a great deal or story you can share with us?
Well, I started buying houses like crazy. A lot of it me and you were talking about every other day, it seemed like, and what you were doing. And I tried to keep up with you, but I don't think I could. But I was buying probably 4 houses a month, and which got pretty crazy. And then, I don't know, next thing you know, I'm up to almost 100 houses. And I guess 2 years ago, I started selling some of them off.
Yeah. And I remember one, San Jose Apartments, you asked me to come over and look at it. This is after you bought it. And this thing had like...
I didn't sleep for a couple.
Yeah, it had like one water heater for 4 apartments. And one water heater for 4 apartments, one furnace for 3.5 apartments or something. It was just, I was like, holy cow, what a disaster. And you probably made money off that too, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the first apartment complex. Stan Priest, Steve Priest's dad, very, very smart man. He said, well, if you're going to own real estate, you need to get up to 100 units. And so I started buying apartments along with my single family. And the first one I bought was on San Jose, 16-plex, and it was in horrible, horrible condition. And I remember me and Terry was watching the news, and we had a dumpster there, a 25-yarder, 30-yarder. And I seen that dumpster and I seen that building, and there was a silhouette of a dead person. And I said, Terry, that looks like our apartment complex. And it's like a week after we bought it. And sure enough, it was the apartment complex we bought. So it was rough.
Yeah.
And, but we rehabbed it, got good tenants in there. I bought another
The Fury
24-plex, a 52-plex, another 24-plex, got up to about 150 doors of apartments.
and they wear you out. And then Ian's got those today and doing a great job. So the biggest thing I can say about Mark is he wasn't afraid to learn, and he wasn't afraid to roll up his sleeves when he got started. And that doesn't mean that he's actually laying brick or floor tile or something, but he's out there making sure it's getting done properly and managing the people and things like that. So do you have a great deal or story or you'd like to share?
Yeah, I was trying to sell. I guess you're talking about what's coming up soon, hopefully.
What's that? Oh, no. I'm not talking about that at all. So just anything that, like the dead person in a dumpster, if you see it on the news, that was interesting. Okay. Do you have any other things you might label as a school of hard knocks or lessons learned?
Oh, yeah, the apartments were something else. I remember probably a week after I bought that 52-plex, it had an office over there, and I had a manager over there. And he'd been hired for maybe 6 months, and he was over there in the office. And it was a Friday night, and me and Terry went to a party in the neighborhood. There was probably, 60, 70 people there, whatever. And somebody had the TV on, and the news came on. And they said, Mark, isn't that the apartments you just bought on Dixie Highway? And I was like, and it was. And they had shut down Dixie Highway, and the marshals, United States Federal Marshals, were there. And they had my manager call me. He goes, he was scared to death. And it was a guy that was in there that was a pretty bad guy. And they got him.
Well, that's good. So, man, you've been on the news a lot. I've had a few instances been on the news, and that's not fun. Sometimes a double fatal fire. We had things there. So any lessons learned, like School of Hard Knocks? Don't do this or? Well,
we rehabbed all those apartments. They were dogs, and we made them nice. And we started screening people, and there's a lot of good tenants out there. So we raised the rents a lot, $200 a unit, and tried to increase our cash flow, which we did. And I'm not a huge apartment guy. I know guys like Ian has done very, very well with apartments. The cash flow is phenomenal. It just wasn't for me. I personally, like Rue McFarland, I listen to him all the time, buy nice single-family houses in nice areas, and that's what I started doing. And I bought some commercial property when I sold those apartments.
Yeah, that's good. So I prefer single-family all day long over apartments. And we've got into that other episodes than we have in here. So if you were to start all over today, Mark, what might you do differently?
Oh, boy. Well, for one thing, I wish I would have started at a younger age. I think I was, late 40s when I started, something like that. That would have been one thing. I'd love to have started in my 20s or 30s, but just go slow. I tried to do that and try to tell people that. There was a time that I got in a hurry and was going too fast. You can have some growing pains. So that's probably one thing. I don't know. I might have skipped the apartments.
Yeah, I might have skipped the apartments. Okay, so that was a time eater. I mean, it made money, but my gosh, it just ate up your time, didn't it? Babysitting all that.
Yeah, I was over there, even though I had a manager and 2 or 3 maintenance guys over there and rehabbing. It seemed like I was over there every day.
Yeah. And some of your achievements, and you failed to mention this, but Mark's been 2-term past president of our local Real Estate Investors Association, and he's a broker today, and probably got some other attaboy achievements under your belt there with the asset manager. Don't y'all have some kind of designation?
Yeah, I'm pretty involved in some big groups that's hard to get into. Rio Mac's one of them that started out of California, and it was just really, really hard to get into. And the other is Moratorium broker member, which is like 80 members across the United States. That's probably 10 or 15 in California and 10 in New York. So there's very few. I think I'm the only one in Kentucky. There might be another one.
You're the hillbilly in the bunch.
I'm the hillbilly, yeah. When I first went out to California, Palm Springs, they were like, well, where are you from? And I said, Louisville, Kentucky. And they'd be like, what are you doing out here? But at the time, they didn't know that there was as many foreclosures. That was 2000, 2001. And then they started asking me, give me your card. And that just started getting more and more business, it seemed like.
So what would you say things from, have you learned anything from Mike Butler over the years or when you got started that you feel like were helpful in achieving your superstar success?
Yeah, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from you. Just talking to you, I always tell people, I said, Mike, I think you're a genius and you're a different kind of guy. You're hardworking and just smart. Billing the tenants, I like that. Tenant tracking, I like that.
Oh, so you're down into office operations. So, no, that was a good enough attaboy. I wasn't looking for a commercial there. So anyway, do you have any product services, your Real Estate 3000? Is there anything that you have out there that will help our investors or folks on the call in our town? Or
yeah, we're low on REO. We used to cover about 150, 160 assets at a time. And what that means is anywhere from being occupied to vacant to active on the MLS to under contract. That's an asset. And we hovered for years right at the 150 to 160 assets. The last several years, I've been around 30, 35.
That's because of the market.
16.
That's because of the market.
Yes. There's just, no REO and then no foreclosure moratorium. All that had an effect on it. But I got an order last week for 20 BPOs from one client. We haven't seen anything like that since 2012, probably. So we're starting to see an uptick on BPOs. I don't know what this administration is going to do, but I know that his people have been chewing out the lenders, and it really is not their fault, but I don't know what he's going to make them do. But I suspect we're going to see a big change here in the next year.
Yeah. So what did you suspect the big change is? I've got my version. Let's see what your version is from your side of the fence in a different pasture there.
I just see where people are behind at 6 months, 9 months, or a year. It's going to be difficult for them to catch up. A lot of people, I've seen families do it the same thing. They get in trouble when they put their head in the sand.
Play ostrich.
And they won't. Yep. And the next thing you know, a less pendants is filed, and 6 months, a year later, we're showing up with a sheriff set out. So I think it's going to be maybe not what 2010 was, but it could be pretty substantial. So I think it could be pretty bad.
Yeah, there's a boatload of folks behind on payments. They did the forbearance. They're playing ostrich. And right now we're in a market where there's not enough houses for sale, too many buyers. And if you think about it, we hear on the news right now where the feds are talking about using an excuse called, we need to curb inflation. And so we can do that and raise the prime interest rate. So if prime goes up a point or two and these foreclosures hit the market too, then everything's going to be flipped upside down. Too many houses for sale, not enough buyers. And that's really going to make a big change in the market. So I say, look for that kind of stuff to happen next 3 to 18 months, maybe. That's kind of my forecast on it. And the other thing is, I just had a brain fart. I'm so sorry. What was I going to say?
The other thing I'm finding out is guys like the window guys and furnace guys, and one window guy, probably number 2, number 3 in the city of Louisville, he's talking about closing his doors for a while because he's 12 weeks, 14 weeks to get window.
Yeah, and can't get them.
So his guys are standing around. They can't do anything. Kind of the same thing with heating and air. A buddy of mine, heating and air, a wholesaler, and they can't get things. They can't get equipment.
Well, it's all across the board in our economy. So it's not just window and door people in restaurants, but grocery stores. It's in people sell toys. They can't get any more orders. But here's what I want to say. On your products and services, Mark, we got a ton of California investors and Illinois investors coming to our town here in Louisville, Kentucky to buy investment properties, buy rental property, because our property taxes are quite a bit lower. It has better cash flow. So you can help those guys out too, right? If you're looking to buy something.
Yeah, we work with a lot of investors, and I've got some buyers on both sides. I've got apartments from other investors. So
where are you going to send them to?
Together.
Real Estate 3000?
Yeah, you can send it to Mark at realestate3000.com.
And that's your website too, if they want to see what you got available. So
yes, it is.
Pretty cool. So I want to thank you for taking time out of not only your precious day, but Mama's day. I know she's over there beating up on you saying, when you getting over here? I could see that now. But is that why you had to go hide in the doghouse?
She just got in from the grocery store. We just got back in town last night.
I know. Well, thank you so much, Mark. You have a wonderful, happy turkey 4-day holiday weekend with you and your family and all the grandkids and stuff. It's awesome to hear about your success, and you're very humble about sharing your achievements there, my friend. But you're awesome, and you don't know how many fans you got, especially here in Louisville, Kentucky. Okay? Adios.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy.
Glad you joined us for another episode of 5-Hour Real Estate Week. The best thing you can do now is put this information to action. To help you get started, Mike created a free resource for you called How to Buy 50 Houses a Year, Even with Your Job. Download it now by going to mikebutler.com/50 houses. And we'll see you on the next episode.